Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, Bean here, and today I'm just going to be doing a fun little video that I think you guys will enjoy, but I'm going to try convincing you to read some of my favorite books. Now some of these are older, some of these are newer. These aren't all of my favorite books because I have a habit of loaning out a lot of my books to family and friends, or some of them are at my parents' house because we just didn't have room here, and I wanted to have room for books I had not read. So, sorry about the glare. It's nice and sunny outside for once. I'm actually doing this during the day. Imagine that. But we're just gonna hop right in. These aren't really in any particular order other than the order that I am picking them up in. But yeah, so sit back, enjoy, grab a drink, and let's go through some of my favorite books. So the first book I am going to talk about, the one right here on top of the pile, is The Savage Song by Victoria Schwab, or V.E. Schwab. This is a YA duology. It is completed, and it is a musical demon sort of story. It follows two characters, Kate and August. Kate basically has just been getting in trouble her whole life. She really would like her father's attention. He just ignores her and sends her off to the next boarding school, whatever. This book starts with her setting a church on fire to get kicked out. And our other character is August, who is a demon. He wants to be human, but he's not. And basically whenever he plays his music, which is on the violin, he can steal someone's soul. So I absolutely loved this duology. I devoured it. It was so good. But it's very imaginative. I loved the use of music in this world, and I loved how the story developed along with our character development. So highly recommend this one. The next one I'm recommending is a little bit more of a recent release, and that is The Kaiju Preservation Society by John Scalzi. This book does not take itself seriously. It is literally about This is literally about a man named Jamie who loses his job at a tech firm. His idea gets stolen by the CEO, and he finds himself basically working for this world's equivalent of DoorDash afterwards. He's pretty miserable. COVID has just hit, and he has no job. And if he can't pay the rent, his roommates are going to have to move out because no one can afford it right now. Until he is approached by someone he used to go to school with for a job for the KPS. He has no idea what that means at first, except for he is told he will be dealing with large animals. As you can tell by the title, he will be dealing with kaiju, and it is amazing. There is such a fun dynamic here. It is predictable. I will not say it is not. You do kind of see where bits and pieces of it are going. But it's so much fun, and I love how they depicted the kaiju, and I love how they depicted the parallel universes, and it was just a lot of fun. The characters are great. You fall in love with them, you hate them, they're great. Absolutely loved this book. The next book is actually one that I wish I saw a bit more of online and around, and that is A Master of Sorrows by Justin T. Call. First off, look at this cover. Like, it is beautiful. This is a beautiful cover. The second book is out, and I believe the third book comes out either this year, I think? I don't remember. This is a villain origin story. Yes, so basically there is a magic system, and this is all about the development of a dark sorcerer. I feel like that's all I need to tell you. One thing to note, the main character in this does have a disability. He is, I believe, missing one of his hands. It's been a while since I've read this book, but I absolutely devoured it when I did. It is a chonker of a book, but it is so good, so well done. There's some great development of the characters and of the Magic Society. There is a Magic Academy in here as well, so highly, highly recommend this. Also, is just a gorgeous book, and I need to get the next one. The next book comes as no surprise to really anybody, and that is a TJ Klune book, and that is Under the Whispering Door. I did find, after some thought, I did almost prefer this one over House in the Cerulean Sea. I know I said they were very similar, and they are very similar. However, this one deals with death, and death is obviously something that's that I have a little bit more experience with rather than kids. So this follows, what's his name? This follows Wallace, who dies and finds out no one comes to his funeral. No one is upset about him dying, and he has to come to terms with the fact that he will not be missed. And it is a bit of a Scrooge at points, but he ends up at this tea shop called Sharon's Crossing, and he meets this guy, and he meets Hugo, who is the owner of this tea shop, who helps ghosts and spirits to move on, and he refuses to. He will not move on. He is not ready to do so, and he just causes chaos. And it's all about him coming to terms with how he lived his life, and he doesn't, and I've seen criticisms for this book about how it's like, oh, he makes up, he tries too hard to make up for it, and I get where you're coming from, but I think it's more, he was able to finally reflect on what happened, and he did realize that what went wrong and what he did, and he did admit to being wrong. So, I think that this is a very well done book. All of TJ Klune's books, I shouldn't say all, the 2 TJ Klune books that I have read have actually had me very close to tears. This one even more so. I absolutely adored it, and I highly recommend his books, not to mention I love the covers. They're so pretty. Next is one that also shouldn't surprise you. It was one of my top books of last year, and that is Maggie Moves On by Lucy Score. I actually got an arc of this book, and I read it at the beginning of last year before it came. It was so good. I enjoyed this so much, and it really got me into realizing that some romance can be very well done, and it can be a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed this book. This follows Maggie Nichols, who is a YouTube renovation DIY star, and she arrives in Idaho? Yeah, Idaho. She arrives in Idaho to do her brand new project, and she has nothing except for her camera and a coffee maker, basically, and a cot, to restore a Victorian mansion in 4 months or less, and she ends up falling for her landscaper, who has been in this town forever, and he basically kind of talks her into a little bit, slowing down a little bit in life, and we find out what she's running from and what's happening there, and it's honestly a very sweet romance. There is a little bit of spice, very little bit, but there is a little bit of spice, and it's adorable. There's a pupper. See, pupper. There's a dog. It's such a good book, and it has gotten me to pick up more by Lucy Score. I haven't read anything else by her yet, but I did pick up other books by her, so we'll see. I absolutely love this one. Highly recommend this if you like any sort of contemporary romances, especially millennial humor is big in this book. Alright, now switching gears completely, we've got Hyde by Kiersten White. Now, I have read one other book by Kiersten White, and that was her YA trilogy she wrote. That was a Vlad the Impaler retelling, I want to say. I don't remember. This is a horror book. It is a very short book. It doesn't take long, and it follows a variety of characters who are playing a high-stake game of hide-and-seek in this amusement park. And when I say high stakes, it's high stakes. Like, you lose, you die kind of high stakes. Absolutely devoured this book. It was so good. It really got me back into reading horror. And guys, you should read it. It's so good. It's so much fun. Each of the characters has their own flaw. They're very different. You have some stereotypical ones, but none of them have had like clean lives either. And there's a reason why they were all chosen. So I think it's very well done. It's very interesting, and it brings that amusement park horror back, because it's been a while since I've really seen that. I also have not been playing FNAF or anything like that. So, next book, I'm going to jump back into YA, because I do still once in a while read YA. This one was a favorite several years ago. I haven't read it in a while, but that is Thorn by Intisar Kanani. This is a Goose Girl retelling. I have the sequel, I believe, which is The Theft of Sunlight, and I believe that's the sequel to Thorn, or it's a spin-off of some sort. This follows Princess Alira, who is on her way to meet her betrothed, and she's really not having it. She's not excited to go, and her lady-in-waiting ends up basically betraying her, and they switch bodies, and she kind of realizes what she had, but she's also not disappointed as a lady-in-waiting, which is kind of the fun part about this story. I highly recommend it. It's, like I said, it's been a while. The reason she doesn't mind is because her betrothed is not rumored to be a very good person, but once she meets him, she's like, actually, he's not bad. Like, he's super powerful, but he's not a bad person either. And it kind of sets off a chain of events, and she has to figure out how to break the curse. For those of you who know the Goose Girl story, this is a reflection of that, and they did a very good job as well. So highly recommend this one. I do plan on reading more by this author, and I'm very excited for it. It's a chonker of a YA book, though. All right, more recent ones. This trilogy was just completed, and this first one is The Song of the Forever Rains by E.J. Mello. This is a beautiful book, once again. It is the first book in the Musai trilogy, which follows 3 sisters. This follows the youngest sister, Larkira, who has a gift for song. Each of these sisters are sirens of sorts. Larkira's gift is for song, and this basically is she is being sent on an undercover spy mission to another kingdom. She's supposed to be betrothed to this man, and she is thrust into this very, very dark world of magic and manipulation and torture, and it's very dark. It is a romance. She ends up teaming up with the guy she's engaged with, his nephew. So it's, it gets dark. It's, well, they say dark, like not super dark. It gets kind of, there's torture scenes in this book. There really are, and they are well written out. They're very well done. This book really gets you emotionally, and it's got some amazing magic in it as well. I highly, highly recommend it. I do plan on reading the second book in this series, which follows the middle sister, who goes on a mission with a pirate, and I'm so excited for it because we've met the pirate in this book. We've actually met all of the love interests in this book, and the pirate, by far, if you've seen Once Upon a Time, the TV show, he reminds me of Hook. Like, I'm excited for this. Alright, but this one is a great start and a great introduction to the world, as well as the magic system. So, highly, highly recommend this series. Not to mention, it's friggin' gorgeous, people. It's beautiful. The next one is a series I can't seem to go without mentioning, and that is The Invisible Library by Genevieve Cogman. As you may know, I have been working my way through these books. I am working my way very slowly through these books. But I'm not reading right now. I'm in a very big reading slump because of school. But this follows a pair of characters. We have Irene and her assistant, Kai, and they work for the library with a capital L, which is basically an interdimensional library that collects important works from each dimension in order to ensure and maintain that that dimension will survive. Yes, and they do this through tomes and through rare documents and rare books and such. Each dimension has a different amount of steampunk versus magic, and it kind of sways. Some people know, some worlds know there are other dimensions, some don't, but the library itself is pretty secretive as far as it goes. She has an arch nemesis, and he does try to take over several times, and yeah, and there's dragons, and there's magic, and there's steampunk, and come on guys, there's books. So, this series I believe is 8 books long right now, and it's done, but she's writing a spin-off series for a different character, I want to say. So, it's done, but it's not done, so yes. And the last book I want to recommend in this video is I want to recommend a relatively new book that a relatively new book to me that I have read, and that is The House Witch by Delamock. And if you have not heard me talk about this book, I kind of go on about it. I read this on Kindle Unlimited at the end of last year. It is a trilogy. The 3rd book is coming out this year. And this follows a man named Finley Ashwan, who joins the staff at the King's Palace in Duxaria, and he barely tells anyone anything about himself. And everyone doubts because he is only like in his mid-20s, but it turns out he makes the most delicious food that anyone has ever had, and no one can figure out why. It turns out the main reason, which you do figure out pretty quickly, is because he is what is known as a house witch, hence the title. He basically thrives on wherever he feels is home, the house and home, on keeping everybody safe, happy, and healthy. And he will do that through food, he will do that through protection, he will do that throughout however he can. And house witches are generally looked down upon, and witches in general are looked down upon in this world. However, he starts to prove that, you know, maybe he's really not that bad. And it's so friggin' cute. There is a romance in this story, and there's also an adorable cat named Kraken. And guys, this book was just so good. It's so well done. There are some great quotes in here, great ideas, and I read it. I would have read it in one sitting if I hadn't had to go to work. Like, seriously, it was so good. So good. And I cannot recommend it enough. Although I will warn you, if you do pick up this book, take your time in reading. Take some time before reading the next few books, because after I finished it, I wanted to go into the second one, and after thinking about it, I was like, no, I'm gonna end up in a really bad hangover if I do that. So read them slowly, or you're gonna put yourself in a reading hangover, and nobody wants to do that. So you have been warned, but yes, read it. All right, so these are my first recommendations for this round of me trying to convince you to read my favorite books. I don't know, maybe I'll do a couple of these videos. That's just kind of fun. But yeah, that's what I have for you guys here today. What are some of your favorite books? What books do you think I should read? Post them down below. I'd love to know. I know I haven't been posting on Fridays the past 2 weeks. It's been really nuts in my life right now, and the only time I've had is on the weekends to film and do stuff. So we're gonna be doing some adjustments in order to make this easier on me next semester. But I've only got a month and a half left of this semester, so bear with me for a little bit, guys. Please and thank you. I appreciate you all so very much. You are very wonderful, and I'm so glad you come and watch us every week. So until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, keep reading, and keep moving forward, and we'll see you later. Bye!